Crime committed by the public officer of Article 203 to 245. Article 203. Who are the public officers? Any person who, by direct provisions of the law, popular election, or appointment by the competent authority, shall take part in the performance of the public functions in the government of the Philippine Island. He or shall perform its said government or in any of its branches. Public duties as an employee against the subordinate official of any rank or class shall be blamed to be the public officer. Feasance. Misfeasance. Improper performance of some act which might be lawfully be done. Malfeasance. Performance of an act which ought not be done. Nonfeasance. Omission of some act which ought to be performed. Article 208. Dereliction of duty and prosecution of office. Act punishable. Number 1. By malicious refraining to institution prosecution against the violation view of the law. Number 2. By malicious tolerating to the commission of offense. Elements. Offender. Police officer or enforcer of the law who has duty cause of prosecution or to prosecute offenses. Number 2. Dereliction of duties of his office, knowing commission of the crimes he does not crimes prosecution of criminal or knowing that crimes is about to committed he tolerates its commission. Article 210. Direct bribery. Act punishable in direct bribery. Number 1. By agreeing to perform or by performing in consideration of any officer, promise, gift, or presents, and act by continuing a crime in a connection with a performance of his official duties. Number 2. By accepting gift of consideration of the execution of an act which does not be constitute a crime in a connection with the performance of official duty. Number 3. By agreeing to refrain or to refraining from doing something which it's official duties to do in a consideration of gift or premise. Act omission. Consideration in return. Relative of official. Agreeing to perform or performing. Act crimes in connection with performance in official duty. Accepting a gift with executing. Act not crimes but unjust. In connection with the performance of his official duty. Agreeing to refrain, omission, or refraining. Omission of something. Official duty to do. Article 210 or 211. Indirect bribery. Number 1. Offender. Public officer. Number 2. He accepts gift. And number 3. Gift offered to him by a reason of his offense. Direct bribery and indirect bribery. Both crimes the public officer receives. Existence of agreeing by the public officer and giver. Presence and absence. Necessity of performance. Number 1. Agrees to perform act. Number 2. Performs act. Number 3. Reframe. No requirements of perform of act or promise to do act. Article 211-A. Qualified bribery. Number 1. Offender. Public officer or entrusted with the law enforcement. Number 2. Offender. Refrain from the arresting or prosecuting offender who has committed crime punishable by the RP and the or death. Offender. Refrain from the arresting for the prosecuting of the offender consideration of any promise of gift or presence. Article 212. Corruption in the public official. Number 1. Offender offers for the promises to give gifts, presents to public officer. And number 2. Officer is promises mode or gift or presents gift of public officer under circumstance that will make public officer humble for direct bribery or indirect bribery. Bribery and copo. Receiver, giver, consummated. Each one completes its part. Public officer back out, not liable. Corruption, virtue, liable by attempting. Article 217. Malversation of the public funds and property. Presumption of malversation. Embezzlement, also called as malversation. Act punishable of malversation. Number 1. By appropriating public funds and property. Number 2. By taking a misappropriating the same. Number 3. By consenting a thought by the abandonment by negligence permitting any other person to take such funds and property. And number 4. By being otherwise guilty to in misappropriation of malversation of such funds property. Number 4. By being otherwise guilty by the elements common to all acts or malversation. Number 1. Offender, public officer. Under his custody or control funds and or property by reason of the duty of the office. Number 3. Foods or property, public funds or property from which he was accountable. Number 4. Constitutive circumstance appropriating, taking a misappropriating or consenting or true abundant with the negligence permitting other person to take them. Act 220. Legal use of public funds or property. Number 1. Offender, public officer. Number 2. Public funds or property. Other his administration. Number 3, public funds or property appropriated by law or ordinance. Number 4, constituted circumstance applying to public's use other than that the which such fund or property has been appropriated by the law or ordinance. Article 223. Conveying with the consenting to evasion infinitely to the custody of the prisoner. Number 1. Offender, public officer. Number 2. Under his custody or charge. A. Detention prisoner. B. Prisoner by the final judgment. Number 3. Public officer in convenience with the prisoner of later escape. Article 224. Evasion through negligence. Number 1. Offender or public officer. Number 2. Under his charge, convenience or custody of the prisoner. A. Detention of the person, or B. Prisoner by the final judgment. Number 3. Prisoner escape through negligence, liability of escaping a prisoner. Number 1. Convict by the reason of final judgment of Article 157. Number 2. Detention of prisoner. No liability. Article 225. Escaping of the prisoner under the custody of a prison not a public officer. Number 1. Offender, private person. Number 2. Confident to him. Convenience or custody of a prisoner or person under arrest. Number 3. Prisoner or person under arrest escape. And number 4. Offender, consent to the escape of the prisoner or the person under arrest, or that the escape takes place through his negligence. Article 235. Maltreatment of prisoner. Number 1. Offender, public officer or employee. Number 2. Under the charge, prisoner by detention of prisoner. Number 3. Manner of maltreatment. A. By overdoing by the connection of handling of a prisoner or detention of prisoner under his charge, either by imposition of punishment not be authorized by the regulation, or by infecting such the punishment. Thus authorities include and humiliating. B. By maltreating such a person of extort, confessions, or the obtained some information from the prisoner. Article 245. Abuse against chastity. Number 1. Offender, public officer. Number 2. He solicits or makes immoral or indecent advance of woman. Woman must be A. Interested in a matter pending before offender's decision of, or with the respect to which he is required to submit report to consult with the superior office, or B. Under custody of offender who has warden or other public officer directly charged with care and custody of the prisoner or person under arrest, or C. Wife, daughter, sister, and relatives within some degree by affinity of a person in custody of offender. Other crimes committed by the public officer. Article 204. Knowing rendering unjust judgment. Article 205. Judgment by rendered through negligence. Article 206. Unjust interlocutory order. Article 207. Malicious delay in the administration of justice. Article 209. Betrayal of truth by an attorney or soldier or utility. Article 213. Foods against the public treasure and similar offenses. Article 214. Other foods. Article 215. Prohibited by transaction. Article 216. Possession of prohibited intents by the public officer. Article 118. Failure to accountable officer of render accounts. Article 219. Failure to responsible public officer to render accounts before leaving the country. Article 129. Failure to deliver the public funds or property. Article 222. Offense officer included in the proceeding provision. Article 126. Removal of concealment of the